Hello YouTube. In this video I'm going to be installing Docker and Docker Compose. I use Docker primarily on my workstation for development. I also use it for hosting applications on my local network using a Raspberry Pi. I'm going to be installing Docker in rootless mode. There are a few advantages to running it in rootless mode. First is typically when you install Docker, you add your user to the Docker group. This has the effect of granting root level privileges to the user. This has security implications which are outside the scope of this video, but I will drop a link in the description with some information regarding it. The second advantage is that I don't have to add a Docker repo to apt. The Docker daemon and the associated tooling are just executables that live in the home bin directory. It doesn't touch the rest of the Debian installation at all. And that's what I prefer. So before we start the installation, Docker rootless mode does need some prerequisite packages, and we need to make sure they're correctly installed. Now, this says that we need the new UID map and the new GUID map installed on the host. This is provided by the UID package, so we should install that. So sudo apt install UID map. And now that's installed. It then wants me to check that our user has the correct range of subordinate users and groups to impersonate. So let's just check that by following the instructions. And we check that by just running grep. You don't need to run these first two commands because it just tells us our user ID and what user are. I know that. So well, we can check it anyway. So it's 1000 because there's only one user on here. That's the one we set up when we installed. We know who you are because it's Jankware. So what we're going to do is we're going to run this command, and what this is going to do is going to run. It's basically just going to find lines with my username in them. So we just come on, copy it. So we copy that, and it says we need 65,536 subordinate IDs, and that's how many we got. I don't think this number matters. And we do the same for the subordinate group IDs. So we just copy and paste that in, and we can see it's the correct number. It was 65,536. So that's good. Now, as we still need to check for a couple of packages. The first is the debug session. This is typically installed, and what we're going to do, we're just going to run this. This is usually installed if you've got GNOME installed, and it's already there. We don't need to fuse overlay FS in Debian 12, so we ignore that. And we need this, I think it's pronounced slurp, for NetNS package, and I'm pretty sure we don't have that installed, so we're just going to install that via apt. Yep. And we'll check the version, make sure it's the correct version. So it says it needs a version greater than 0.4.0, and we got 1.2.0, so that is greater than. That's great. And now we're ready to actually perform the installation. There are instructions for, we just scroll down here. Where is it? Yeah. So there's the install with, and you want to select without packages. Sorry. So we just need to run that, and this is some sample output um, from the script. So we're just going to run this as is, and straight away it's telling us that we don't have IP tables installed. So we'll just clear this. We'll just install that. So sudo apt install IP tables. Boom, done. And let's run the script again. Now this won't come up on yours. I did a trial run of the installation before I recorded, and I forgot to delete this. Not a big deal. It's already there, and it's just warning us that it's already there. So that looks like it installed correctly. And it's saying that we need to add this bin to our home path. So we're going to do that, and um, we're just going to scroll down a little bit. So by default, Debian as the bin to your login shell. So the local bin directory, which is home/bin, will be added to your user directory if it exists, and I can show you where it does that. So we'll just clear the screen. Do cat.profile, and you can see here. I'll just highlight that. What this is saying is if home/bin exists, it adds it to the path. However, I would need to log in and log out for this to take effect. Also, on distributions, other distributions, they might not have this in the .profile. So I like to add this to the bash RC. What we're going to do is just do vim bash RC, and we're going to add the line. So if we just scroll down a little bit, and we're just going to do path equals path, and then it's $home, and it's bin, not .bin. And we just I went to the top file. Whoops. And we're just gonna add a line in there. Second thing that we need to set is in the output, the example output, we need to set this Docker host variable, and this is an environment variable, and this basically tells Docker where to look for the Docker socket, and it's typically this. So this is it's this path. I'm not going to say the whole thing out; it's a bit of a mouthful. However, this assumes that you're always going to be UID 1000, and you might not be, depending on, like, you might have more than one user on your machine. You might be using a shared machine or a shared workstation. So what I like to do, if we just scroll down a little bit, it actually tells you the correct thing to put in. So it's this line you need. And what that does is this XDG underscore runtime dir environment variable. We'll just open up another terminal. And we just do, whoops, I did that, it's very annoying. That evaluates as that bit basically. So what that will do is when your bash RC executes, bash RC script executes, what it will do, substitute that variable in, and then that will be set correctly. Doesn't matter if you take your bash RC script and use it on another machine with a different user ID, it will still work. So we're going to add that line in. So we're going to do that, and we're literally just going to add a new line in. Put the and then we're just going to. Oh, I've got caps lock on. And right click. And we'll just right and quit and save the bash RC. And then we need to source the bash RC. Now we need to, we're ready to basically run Docker, and we need to start the Docker daemon. So to do that, we use, we have a system, we can use systemd, and that's, we've got Debian uses systemd. So if you was on a system that doesn't have systemd, it'll be entirely different. So what we're going to do is, it's got the instructions here. So we just run systemctl user start docker. So we're just going to copy and paste that in. And if we do system and we just check that's running correctly. Now user, so it's just status instead of start. And that is enabled and it's active and running. We can see that there, that's great. So we just quit, then we clear the screen. And we want to check that Docker is now running correctly. And there's Docker has a hello world container. And we can run that by doing Docker hello world. Docker run hello world, sorry. Yeah, so this is now running correctly. It's pulled it. I had already pulled down the container. And what this is showing us is that the container is, Docker is running and we can run the container. So that's great. So we remove that. We just basically clear the screen again. And what we want to do is enable Docker. I think it's already enabled, but enabling it again won't hurt. Then we set linger to make sure that this, is that gonna, amazing bug there. So we just execute that, and whenever I start the system or log in, I should have Docker running automatically, which is great, exactly what I want. Now the last part is we have to install the Docker Compose plugin, and we're going to perform a manual installation. Docker, it's just a plugin that gets installed in your home directory alongside Docker. And I'll put the link for both of these resources in the description. The first thing we need to do is set this variable here, which is Docker config, and all we're doing is just basically setting this path, and it just makes the commands a little bit easier. So all this is doing is setting the Docker config, the home directory, and Docker by the looks of it. We do that, and we do, yeah. So that just evaluates it as that directory, which is what we want. And then we're going to make the CLI plugins directory. So we do that. And if we we can actually just do cd docker. That's the directory is created. So if we just cd home again. And now the last thing is we need to download the Docker Compose plugin. And we just copy and paste this line. We could have copied the entire thing, but you should always understand what you're running. So what this does is it's going to download the plugin from here and install it in our CLI plugins directory. Enter that. I'll press enter, also say, or return. Right, that's done. And now we need to mark it as executable. So if we scroll down here, it's got the, we just need to run chmod plus X. And that gives, it just applies the executable permission to the binary. Just take that and install. Ooh. Wait a minute. So we need to do, wonder why that's not working. Oh, it could not resolve. Okay. Okay, weird. So all that happened there for whatever reason. The first time it didn't resolve the github.com URL. Not sure what that happened. And it can't apply the executable permission to an executable that doesn't exist. So let's add that in. I sort of spotted that when it gauges to download. Now that's in that set up, we should be able to verify that's installed by Docker Compose version. And we have got Docker Compose 2.33.1. So that is how you install Docker Rootless, and we've also installed Docker Compose. So I think that's all for today's video. So goodbye.